dude, I'm not saying that you're not deserving of accolades. I'm not saying that, you're in your own right. You're not a great reporter, a great, um, you know, media person. Um, but I don't know. I believe I listened to the John GRL's podcast, which is a lot of fun. I'm going to be honest though, I listened to it because of your buddy Tommy Else, who's a natural. If you ask me, the dude is a natural when it comes to being a conversationalist, to being a podcaster. Folks, if you're not listening to the John GRL's podcast, you can find it on wherever you find your podcasts, and give it a listen. It reminds me of classic old school radio. I'm talking like Stephen Gary, like Jonathan Brandmeier and Buzz Killman, the radio that I grew up in, but in podcast form. And Tommy Else brings great topics to the show. Has a lot of sound experience that he offers when it comes to life. Has an adorable cat too. I follow him on Facebook. Love his cat. And so it's a good podcast because of Tommy. Hey Mark, dude. Hey, thanks for watching, and I miss you too, buddy. Mark Mason, who was there in the beginning, who helped me earn the title of media champion in Chicago, because you know what? Hard, long years writing for very little recognition, building up that resume, and doing it without feeling the need to go after others. Yes, there was that one time I challenged Will Wheaton, but I learned from that. And after that, I just did it on my own. I earned it on my own. John G, you want to? Okay, we're gonna go. You want to go? We'll go. I'm checking you off my to-do list. I want to put this out here. I like your show. I like the John GRL show. I want to be on your show. I want to be on with you and Tommy Else, and let's talk about this challenge. Let's talk about what needs to be done. And let's do it. Let's. You know what? I finished building some shelves. That took me a whole weekend. I think addressing this little thing with you probably will take less than half that time.
That was Elliott Serrano, our guest today here on the Johngy or Else podcast. I, of course, am who else but Tommy Else. And with me, as always, is the aforementioned Mr. John Robleski.
Well, first of all, you should introduce Elliot as the king of all geeks and the current Chicago media champ. Have some respect for him.
Well, you just did. So,
so
that was a post that was part of a Facebook Live post from Elliott Serrano. And as you can tell, he has incredible taste in
he was drinking
podcasters, and I appreciate very much his compliments and what have you. And
even though he called your cat a boy,
he definitely seems to have a firm grip on you as well. So so and he requested to come on to the show. We couldn't be happier to have him on with us today. John, do you want to just give a little background real quick before we get in the room with him here? How do you feel about everything he just said there?
Well, as I've told you, I won't go into the whole thing. As I've told you, I've respected Elliott's work for years. I've been a fan of his for a long time. To even be held in the same conversation with an Elliott Serrano really is like a dream for me. I challenged Elliott for the media champ because I think he's moved on. I think he's got bigger things to do, and I think it would add to his legacy to pass the torch on to me. That's all I'm looking for. He says he never went after anybody, but then he says, "Oops, I went after Will Wheaton." Well, all right. I'm going after Elliott Serrano. I'm not going after other people. I don't care about other. There's a lot of other media people in the Chicago area.
So he should be like honored that like you're coming after him.
Well, I'm coming after the one that I think I best fit, follow that path. There's a lot of other people. They're not on Elliott's level. I want to follow Elliott's legacy. That's why I want a shot at his media championship.
Okay. Well, then let's not waste any more time because we have him with us here today.
I'm excited.
So here we go. Our interview with Elliott Serrano.
For the Johngy or Else podcast, we are very happy, very proud, very excited to introduce to our studios the king of Chicago geeks, possibly the media king of Chicago. All hail, Elliott Serrano.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, can I tell you something? This is actually a real thrill. I have been a fan of this podcast because I think you guys have a great rapport, and as I said, I've said in my own Facebook page, it reminds me of old school radio when I would listen to like the Loop. Guys our age, remember the Loop? We listened to like Stephen Gary,
totally,
and Kevin Matthews, Johnny B. Well, not you guys don't have the same energy level as Johnny B does. I mean,
well, does anybody?
Yeah, does anybody? But I do like listening to the podcast, and I would say I'm a big fan of yours, Tommy, because anyone who's going to come out and stand for the hot dog omelet, boom!
Thank you.
I am a part of hot dog omelet.
Thank you. I feel very oppressed by the public at large, by their outlandish just things. Yeah, seriously, it is disdain. And I had my friend over yesterday who just was, again, just brought it up. It's unacceptable, cannot be allowed. I'm like, you can put anything you want in an omelet. If you don't like hot dogs in an omelet, then don't make it. But don't tell me it's not acceptable.
Van Gogh was given disdain during his time, and you know what? And today we consider him one of the greatest artists of all time. So you know what it is? You're ahead of your time.
I'm ahead of my time.
Now we're careening off a cliff. Well, as long as we're going into insanity, Elliot, what's your take on the mixing of the pastas?
I'll tell you, because again, I mean, I'm sure I commented this on the page, and I said, look, I grew up in a very modest means, and there are times that you don't have a whole box of one kind of pasta.
Well, no, wait, but there's a difference between being forced to do it and choosing to do it.
Well, I mean, sometimes, it's America, man.
But it was, and admittedly, though, it was experimental. I said, let's see how it goes. I don't know. And I've since said that if I did that dish again, I probably would just stick with one pasta. I didn't find
let's move on then.
I didn't find a big benefit to it.
We agree.
But I don't think there was anything wrong in trying. That's all.
See, John G., you're sounding like one of those religious zealots from the Old Testament that go, you can't plant certain, crops next to each other, and you can't mix your fabrics.
No, I'm very open-minded about a lot of things, but there's certain things that just don't work. Mixing your pastas does not work on a few levels. We've discussed this already. Let's get into the meat of this interview. Let's dig into
it. Let's just slowly roll, John. Take it easy, man. Let's.
I'm trying to bring more energy. He compared me to, Johnny B. So I got to.
I don't know if I did that.
I just wanted to make a quick comment in regards to that. First of all, I really appreciate the compliments, and thank you very much. The idea that we sound sort of like, an old school radio team. I never really thought about that, but I take that as a high compliment because I do know those guys and stuff. And in fact, Kevin Matthews at one point in like the early 2000s would do like a live Friday morning show on the air. And I actually won tickets and got to go be in the audience for a live Kevin Matthews show, and it was great.
As did I.
Did you do that?
not trying to one up anybody here.
Okay.
But yes, not only have I been to the live Kevin Matthews show, not only have I been to his stand-up, I've actually been on stage with him doing bits.
Wow.
Well, I've been to his house and I've interviewed him at his church. Not to try to one up anybody.
I slept with.
Well,
his
that's
mother,
great.
So what?
Well.
So what else do you got?
Wow.
All right.
Here we go.
So-
Round robin.
So, starting off here, though, for people who may not be familiar with who you are and why we're here today, can you give us a little bit of background on why you are known as being the Chicago's reigning, undisputed, undefeated geek media champion? I mean,
not necessarily undisputed. He is the media champ, and Lawrence Holmes.
will you just give him a little room to talk? Just let him.
I just want accuracy.
Let him answer the question.
I want accuracy. Lawrence Holmes.
Give us your origin or your origin story here. How did you get your powers?
Well, it depends on who you want to talk to, and I don't want to say for fear that my enemies might key into my one weakness. Well, in all seriousness, though, I was very flattered that Lawrence said that about me. Mind you, I've been working in media, Chicago media, for I want to say a good 8 to 9 years before I really considered myself kind of like a top anything.
Well, and you did it. I'm sorry, you did it in multiple capacities too. So
Yeah.
what type of stuff were you doing as you were coming up?
I started out writing for an online magazine called Comics Waiting Room. And that's where I kind of cut my teeth doing the pop culture commentary. Because while I'd been a writer and I'd done things, on the blog and this is, mind you, before social media, before Facebook and Twitter and all those things.
Right.
I had to develop the discipline of writing a column.
Shit, we lost you again there, buddy. Are
You think the media champ?
I knew that was coming.
You know I'm gonna give it to him.
Oh, buddy, where'd he go? Come on.
Elliot, give me all the reasons why you're better than me. Well,
all right. Let me start over. So I was writing for Comics Waiting Room, and not only did I have to develop the discipline of writing a column on a regular basis, I also was a graphic designer for the magazine, doing the covers and banners and logos and stuff. Doing that for a while, it got me the attention of some folks over at the Chicago Tribune who didn't have a geek features writer in Chicago. You had folks writing about, mind you, this is before Marvel movies are a big thing that they are now.
Sure.
So I pitched myself as someone who could write about geek culture. And lo and behold, they saw my work at the Comics Waiting Room and my YouTube show, Comic Culture Warrior, where I was myself and a friend, Jose Melendez, were doing a Siskel and Ebert type review show about different comic books each week.
Cool.
So doing that over time, it helped build, started slowly building the reputation. And then working with the Tribune, and then slowly going through that bit, because I went from being first doing a slight, like a little column, like a quick summary of like key things that were going on in Chicago at the time, to working on a blog, to then becoming a full-blown features writer.
Nice.
So that then led to regular appearances in WGN radio, WGN television, and then I ended up making inroads with the folks over at The Score, namely Lawrence Holmes, who is a big geek in Chicago. And that would be when I would get my first, that's when he would say I was the quote unquote king of geeks, because he saw my work. He recognized a lot of the stuff I've been doing over the years and had me on his show and pretty much bestowed that title on me, which in the beginning, I'll admit, I was like, I didn't feel comfortable saying, going by that, because there's so many people, in Chicago. It's, it's a fairly large market.
Yeah.
There are a lot of folks who cover that beat, or, well, then not as many. I was one of the few who was doing it readily, steadily, and as high profile as I was. Now you see more folks doing it. But this was when it was more traditional media too, when it was through the newspaper.
Yeah, it's print stuff and
radio and television.
Yeah.
Now, and a parallel track to that, because the truth is, I wanted to get into comic books. I wanted to be a writer. And these days, if you want to write for any of the companies, you have to have a high profile, a fairly high profile, so that people recognize your name and they'll pick up your book.
Right.
And as I was writing for Red Eye and doing all those things, I managed to get the attention of the folks who owned the Army of Darkness property. That's the movie starring Bruce Campbell.
Right. Yeah.
Evil Dead.
From Evil Dead, and yeah.
And I managed to earn my way into first co-writing a miniseries, then a one-shot, then a high-profile miniseries, and then they gave me a run on the monthly title. So
Wow.
I wrote the Army of Darkness book for a little over a year. I have one of the longest runs on that title out of any author, any other authors on that book. And I've been told also one of the better selling runs too.
That's awesome, man.
It sold pretty well when I was doing it. And then that led me to write other books for Dynamite. And I did Homies, the comic book based on the
little guys.
Toys.
Yeah.
I got to team up with David Gonzalez, the creator of Homies, to come up with the stories and write the miniseries. And then the big one, the one that I did not expect to go over as huge as it did, was Grumpy Cat. When you write Grumpy Cat and Grumpy Cat follows you on Twitter, that's huge. Whenever I have Grumpy Cat comics, I mean, I know some folks might chuckle at that. I would bring stacks of Grumpy Cat comics with me to conventions, and those things would be gone. The kids would be buying those up. And I would say I was pretty proud of the book and how it came out. So
I was gonna say, when I was a kid, for a long time, my aspiration was to both draw and write comic books. I drew all the time, but I also wanted the creative control of the story and everything. And all the characters I was coming up with, I'm naturally coming up with backstories as to why they are what they are, and who the good guys are and the bad guys are, and then trying to find some sort of a conflict to link the two together and things like that. And so that started in 6th grade and went all the way through high school. But at the time, it just seemed like it just felt like it was very out of reach. I mean, like, I was looking up to guys like, Rob Liefeld and, Todd McFarlane, and I mean, just all the guys. I mean, like, in the 90s, the people who were doing comic books then, I mean, it was just an absolute who's who of both artists and writers and stuff. And so I never followed through on that, but that's awesome that you got to get in there and actually do stuff, man. That's badass.
I wanted to be an artist too. I wanted to be a penciler. I mean, I idolize folks like Paul Smith, John Byrne, who didn't love John Byrne back then, Steve Rude, who's still an idol of mine. But I didn't have the discipline to sit at a drawing table, for as many hours as you needed to be.
That was another thing, is when I really thought about it, I'm like, it sounds cool, but I'm like, do you really want to pull in, like, 20-hour day of sitting there trying to hit a deadline and draw everything out and get it right? And I'm like, I don't know, so.
Yep. I follow John Romita Jr. on Instagram, and he does these little bits from time to time where he goes, he's working on like 3 books, and he one Instagram video about his kids asking him, what was it like having a day off? Like he took 1 day off in a month. And he goes, oh, that was great having a day off, but now I've got 2 more books I need to work on. And he goes right back to the drawing, and the dude's a machine. And he goes, you know, I mean, I'm not complaining. I mean, I'm making a living drawing comic books. So
Yeah.
but still that
It's
takes
a lot of work.
serious
It's still a
It's
lot
still
of work.
hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then what was there was the other thing. Then P.L. Myers comes along.
Oh boy.
And now P.L. Myers, I'm a fan of P.L. Myers, and he's a fan of mine. And I interviewed P.L. Myers, it was a few years back, because there was some stuff going on with the wrestling promotions he was involved with. I want to say it was Chicagoland Championship Wrestling at the time. My apologies, PL, for not remembering exactly which one it was.
Well,
but
you're gonna catch hell for
Well,
that.
depending how
Yeah,
far
I know.
back, it could have been PCW, which is the Fed that he was involved in that.
Was that when he wrote his book, the book
Yeah.
that Bobby Heenan did the forward? Okay,
Yeah.
then it was PCW, because I was interviewing him about the
Just
book. I was
a
interviewing
plug
him
for the
about all
book.
those-
It's called Gate to Gate by P.L. Myers.
The shot to the top.
The shot to the
Shot to the
top with a
top.
forward by none other than Bobby Heenan.
Bobby
I
the
would
Brain.
be
Yep.
I would be remiss, and I would not want to upset PL by not letting people know
No.
that that book is out there and is probably available on Amazon and other fine distributors. So
It is actually, yeah. I've seen it on Amazon. But the thing being that, so I was interviewing him about that, but then in our talking, he goes to me, because I'm a big fan of yours. You've been doing this. You're the king of geeks. He calls me the king of, the king of the island of Lord of the Island of Misfit Toys. Because I mean,
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, remember, it wasn't always cool to be a geeky guy.
No,
It wasn't always really cool to be that guy who was in the comic books and stuff like that, right? Now it is. Now everyone's like, oh yeah, geeks. I love geeks. Blah, blah, blah,
yeah,
but-
it does feel a little watered down though. And I have a thing with chicks who are like, oh, well, I'm such a nerd, and it's like, no, you're
you're not a nerd.
talk nerdy to me. It's like, shut up. You're just saying that. It's like, no, because if you were truly a nerd, you wouldn't even like acknowledge that like that. You would just
You're
be
a poser.
you would just be who you are. So yeah, I'm with John on that one. I just, anyway, I get a little hot about that.
I know, I get you. I don't gatekeep though. Although, I mean, I do say, man, it would have been nice to see all these cute girls who were in the nerdy stuff when I was.
Yeah, where were they when we were actually?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you there,
Right.
man.
So anyway, P.L. Myers comes along, and he declares, because after me doing all this media stuff, P.L. Myers was the one who gave me the title of media champion, and we had that whole thing where I would be calling out other media folks to challenge me to the media championship, and they would no show because they're afraid of me. And although the one, I mean, Sam Panianovich, who I was messing with, was supposed to show for our last quote unquote match. And I think at the last minute decided he couldn't make it or whatever.
And what exactly?
Convenient.
Oh, he froze again.
He just froze again.
Oh, it's killing me.
Oh,
he's
there he
back.
is. There he is.
I swear, the internet today does not respect me. You want to know why? Because John G's king of the internet, so I'm told.
Well, you would think the media champ would have a worthwhile, connection, but I'm not taking that cheap shot.
You would think, as he's standing right next to his router.
You're frozen up again there, bud.
I've had better connections on airplanes.
Oh, wait. There we go.
Back?
Am I back?
You're back.
You're gonna have to edit. You're gonna have to edit this thing to death here.
You left off with.
I'm leaving all this
Sam.
in, buddy. I'm leaving it all in.
That sounds fine. That works. It makes it real. Makes it feel real. You know.
You left off with Sam no showing.
Yeah. So Sam Panayotovich, who was doing sports at GN, you know, a good guy, and we would mess with each other from time to time. And I knew all the sports guys at GN, and we were just having fun with it. But then the guy goes and moves to Las Vegas. I go, look at that. Loser leaves town. That's what he did.
So I have a question. What exactly is involved in a quote unquote match? Like, how are you putting your title on the line?
Well, here's the thing. And I guess this is my question, because I'll tell you, there are two quote unquote titles, I guess you could say. One is, of course, King of Geeks, which you know, I don't know how you take that title. I mean, it's like, I guess, like with any sort of royalty, you have to like kill the king.
Well, I mean, but is anybody disputing that title?
Here's the thing: is I don't think, and I'm not, and this is not a shot at John, believe it or not, but I don't think that even he would claim to be king of the geeks. So
Clearly.
Right, which I know, and I don't think he
so
ever
that
has.
I think we're okay there.
So now we're talking about media champion, right?
Right.
Chicago media
Now
champion.
that I know this guy has his eye on the title.
Well, I'm not saying that I am the champ. I'm saying I want a shot at the champ, and we'll talk about that. Go ahead.
So so that's why I was like, and then when we were having our back and forth, I'm like, okay, but well, I'll ask you, Tommy. Let me ask you this: like, is that the kind of title that you can just sit there and go, one guy like beats the other guy in trivia and he gets it, or do you have to, like, is that a resume building challenge? You know, like, do you have to?
Well, given those choices, I'd say it's more of a resume building challenge. I really don't know how you can, you know, dethrone somebody of a title like that unless you have, of course, attained a higher level of either recognition or, I mean, you know, you have to win over your followers to where they have decided that you are now. I mean, that's the only way it can truly fairly be settled is the people would have to speak. The people would have to speak.
Now, see, I have to disagree with that. King of All Geeks is different. That was a title bestowed upon you by our good friend Lawrence Holmes. You know, I think he would have to bestow that upon somebody else or figure out a way if he wanted to dethrone you. I think that's up to him. Media champ, you got the belt. Yeah, that's
so he's like the promoter then.
Yeah,
yeah.
But the media champ and PL is a manager. He's a promoter. He gave you the title belt. Title belts are meant to be defended.
But how? How can he?
Well, now I have a proposal for Elliot.
Okay. All right.
Elliot, you know I have tremendous respect for you. This has never been about me denouncing you, disrespecting you in any way.
There's a big button here somewhere.
No. Years ago, I idolized you. I admit that. Years ago, I saw you and I said, if I could even be mentioned in the same breath as an Elliott Serrano, I'd be happy. Come to think that I've actually interviewed you, I've talked to you, I consider you a good friend. We're talking now, we're interviewing you. This is like beyond my dreams. You know, you are one of the guys that I truly look up to. However, much like, and I'm going to draw a wrestling.
It wasn't a but, it was a however. No,
exactly.
That was clever. Yeah.
It's a nuance. What I'd like to offer you is a chance for you to pass the baton. You will forever be, it's sort of like Jerry Bishop, who passed the baton to Rich Coase as Svengoolie. Jerry Bishop is always going to be held in high regard. He is the man. He's the ultimate guy.
Yeah, but see, Elliot still has a decent amount of life ahead of him, so he could still hold on to this title.
I'm not done yet.
Give it up just yet, man.
Zip it up, Elf. I'm not done. I'm winding up, but I'm not done. Much like The Rock, and I'm going to compare you to The
God,
Rock.
Here we go.
No, you not only in media, you've gone on to do other things. You've kind of left behind. You're not at conventions anymore. You're not at wrestling shows. I'm out there on the beat doing all this. Everybody sees me on the beat. People do come up to me. People buy my shirt. There is a recognition factor. I am out there on the street, busting butt, producing content. You have spawned off into other fields successfully. I admire that. But you're kind of leaving behind this part of your resume, if you will.
So do you think
You're
by
like The
doing
Rock,
that, you think
who's
by
gone
doing,
on to movies, etc. I am the John Cena who stayed in the company and busted his butt year after year. I think it would be so awesome of you to pass the baton, and everybody would highly respect you and hold you forever in the highest regard.
so basically you think he's taking up a spot because he's gotten so big that he doesn't need to be in the main event now, and it's time for you to take over.
I don't want to say taking up a spot. I want to say he's outgrown it. He's moved beyond it. He's expanded his horizons. He's expanded his resume. I have no interest in writing comic books. I have no interest in, with all due respect, I mean, I appreciate the fact that you do all that. I don't have an interest in that. My interest is doing what I'm doing and being the media guy in Chicago. With or without this title, I'm going to keep doing that. With the title, I would carry the title proudly as a representative, as a forebearer or decedent, something.
Well,
of you.
I respect that. I respect that argument, Elliot. Your response, and remember, you are under oath, by the way. So
The committee.
Okay, so here I will say this. This is you do make a valid point, John G. That I have also turned a corner myself. I'm like going to myself, I like doing the interviews. It's fun. But the truth is, I'm kind of done with being the interviewer. I want to be the interviewee. I want to be the person that people want to talk to.
well, and here you are. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, John G, I will do this. I will put this challenge to you. I will bestow this title on you out of respect for all the work you do when you get your first byline in a major publication.
Well, I've had that.
Who?
I've had a byline in Global Traveler magazine.
That's right. Give me. Have you written for the Tribune or the Sun Times?
Yeah.
We're talking Chicago Media Champion. Chicago Media Champion here.
Well, I did write for the Sun Times. I don't have a copy of it. It was at the very end of my stay with Lerner Newspapers, a subsidiary of the Sun Times. I did write an article there. I do have a byline.
You're still just a step or two below like the mainstream that he's talking about. I mean, no disrespect to Global Traveler or anything like that, but I mean, I think he's.
Well, it's only a worldwide publication.
Well, there's a lot of them, you know.
I know.
So, you know.
Well, I mean, like I've written for Playboy magazine. I think more people have read Playboy than Global Traveler.
Oh, granted.
Well, read, I don't know, but yeah, I mean, it's.
But
I know, the articles. I read it for the articles. I don't know about you.
But see, writing for the Tribune or the Sun Times is not my goal. That's not my goal. So you're setting a goal.
But you talk Chicago media.
It is, but
okay, because you also forget. I mean, I also had one of the top top rated. Well, this was when blogs were a thing, but I had one of my blog on the Red Eye site was one of the highest traffic blogs. I got the most unique hits. That's why so many people. I was able to get so much attention. You know, I mean, and yeah, that's why. Okay, when C2E2 asks you to host a panel for them, how's that?
How about Fan Expo?
No, I'm sorry, it's got to be C2E because again, it's got to be Chicago media. Chicago.
You elitist.
I'm not being elitist. I'm saying
Fan Expo is in Chicago.
It is, but that's a Canadian company.
But it's in Chicago. They asked me to host a podcast.
I mean, that's like I want to be, you know, I want to be the U.S. champion, but oh wait, I want to hold the European belt. But doesn't that Intercontinental belt?
Well, John,
the U.S. is a continent, right?
John, didn't you though like co-host with Kato Kalin or something?
I did, but that was Wizard World. However, C2, well, no,
Well, I would
okay.
I
I've
would
done
think
the
Wizard
tri-
World
yeah,
counts.
I've hosted
C2E2,
Yeah.
I did host a cosplay contest.
I've done that too.
Well, I understand, but you said C2E2. Now I said that, you go, I've done
Okay.
that too. I
Well,
know
no, I'm
you've
just
done
saying,
it.
I
You've
need
done
to
it
know-
all.
I mean, I could, I guess if you want to be Chicago media champion, but lowercase m,
Wow, that's really
Man.
cheap, John.
Man,
Do I get the title belt?
I like this guy. I like this guy.
Do I get to wear the title belt though? Or do I have to carry it like in a sack?
You should get like a mini belt or something, like
Shut up,
maybe
Belt.
like a wristwatch
Shut up,
type of
Belt.
thing with
the
a
little
title.
belt
You know?
buckle, the little
Yeah,
belt
there you
buckle.
go. Yeah.
Look, Chicago.
Hey, the belt buckle you could wear to all your conventions very proudly, and should everyone can see, and and people will say, "Oh, that's right, you're Serrano Jr."
I just think I wouldn't mind being called Serrano Jr.
Oh,
just
no,
think-
none of that. We're not having any of that.
He's
I
not
just
signing
think
off. He's not signing off on
You
that.
pass the torch, and you are forever held you're like emeritus. And I would carry that torch proudly. I'm not leaving the scene. I'm not going to write comic books. I'm not going to Hollywood. I'm not going to Playboy. I'm staying right here on the beat day after day after day. I've done
I will
5
say-
interviews this last
will-
weekend. I was
Yeah.
at 3 conventions the weekend before. I'm covering softball. I'm covering women's football. I'm covering college sports.
I will say John does get an extremely high amount of traffic through the various places that he is posting his interviews and articles that he writes and stuff like that. Like he doesn't have a problem telling me his numbers, so I'm aware of
I've seen his work. Yeah,
I'm aware of the traffic, and so I credit him that. I mean, like there's a lot of people who, for better or for worse, have seen this guy's mug and know who he is. But now here's the thing. So like you were saying, like if he could write something in like the Tribune or the Sun Times or something like that, again, that's something you've done, isn't it?
Who, me?
No, Elliot.
Oh yeah, he's done.
No, I've done that. I've done.
Okay, well, so again, and if him doing a panel or whatever at C2E2 doesn't count because you've done it, well, then him going and writing for those newspapers isn't going to count for him either because you've already done it. So what can he do that you haven't done that would elevate him above your level of?
But wait a minute. I'm not saying I'm elevated above. I'm not saying any of that. I'm not even saying I was on his level. I'm saying he's outgrown the media champ title. He's gone on to bigger things nationwide, other areas, other genres. I'm on the beat. I'm busting tail on the beat, picking stories, interviewing people, going to events. I'm on the scene every weekend out there, midweek, all the time.
I know you just gave us the whole thing. But...
I know. So I'm not. So I'm not trying to say I'm better than him. I'm saying this is his chance to be the big man, pass the baton, pass the torch,
Okay.
move up to emeritus.
All right.
Kind of backhanded there.
All right. I have a question. Elliot, do you mind telling me how old you are?
Man, that's like a closely guarded secret.
Well, how about if I'm
okay?
57,
All right.
You're younger
right.
than me.
No, I am younger than you.
You're younger than him. Okay. So the only bone I can throw this guy at this point, I think, is that he's sliding into his golden years soon, and he may
that's a bone you're throwing me.
he may only have so much time left to know the glory of holding this title. Now, I'm not saying it should be given to him, but if there's some sort of goal, if there's some sort of assignment that we can give this guy and challenge him that might earn him some sort of, maybe how about this? What if a separate title was created?
No.
But was bestowed upon you by your idol here, Elliott Serrano. If he decides that you are worthy of a specific title, you know, and maybe it's not the Chicago media champ, you know, maybe it's something that's specific for you. And then at that point, if you feel the need to pass on the title, you know, and make way for the next generation or whatever, that's all in your hands, and then you can take care of it. I think really he was given the title, or he was bestowed the title, okay? And now he carries it. I don't know how you can really dethrone somebody of that, but what could happen here is that he, as your idol, who you said you wanted to be like, and you wanted to try to achieve even half the level of success as he has, if he decides, your idol decides that you are worthy of a championship that he creates, I think that's your prize.
Well, as much as I would love like the Elliott Serrano championship, that would be so cool. That would be like really awesome. Elliott's head on a big belt. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be even better than the Johngy head.
You could spin. Yeah.
But much like, you know, when a wrestler wins the Intercontinental title and then he's going to go for the big title, he says, okay, here, take that title, take the Intercontinental. I'm passing the torch. I've won the big title. Elliott has moved on. Elliott is bigger. You're bigger than the media champ. I should be the one. You should. Well,
do you know another guy who's going to give him a bigger title? Are you?
Well,
do you know
what?
It's got to come. It's got to come from. It's like I can't just make him a title that says, and I say, well, that means more than, you know, his media championship.
Elliott's got.
It's got to come from somebody of significance.
Elliott's got to say, I've moved on to bigger and better things. I'm passing the torch to Johngy. He's going to carry it proudly and go forth in my path. The path that I've created, the path that I've led him to.
Okay. And and Elliot, you know, we'll have you on the show soon. You know, I feel like you're too focused on that specific title. I think the fact that he gives you a title should be enough. I don't know why.
Patronizing.
It's not patronizing.
You've been
going on about how this guy is your idol and what you aspire to be. Okay.
It's all true.
All right. So, all right. I love, you know, our buddy Billy Corgan, right? Okay.
Yes.
All right. I don't expect him to retire and let me become the lead singer of the Smashing Pumpkins.
Well, that's a different story. Well, that's a totally different story.
Just because I feel like,
now you're comparing apples with pumpkins.
He's been doing it for 35 years now.
Apples with pumpkins.
It's time to move on.
I want respect for that one.
And make room for me. So, you know, I know most of the songs.
That's a ridiculous comparison.
I've got the Midwestern accents. You know, I can do it. But, you know, that doesn't mean it doesn't make sense. I don't see why, especially a younger guy than you, especially a guy who still has life left in his body and can carry this title.
But he's not doing anything with it. He's moved on to bigger, better things.
Oh my God.
This is
Elliot. I turn to you.
What
do you think?
Okay. You know what? This has been a very
Anti-Cruelty Society.
This has been a very amusing conversation.
Well, I'm sitting here thinking, however old we all are, I'm turning 43 this week.
Well, I'm older than you too, so
yeah. But
I'm between you and Johngy.
But for our age, this is a ridiculous conversation.
It is.
But it's the stuff of geeks and nerds.
And
that's
nerds.
true.
That is absolutely true. I will say this. I'm going to say this, and this is I'm listening to this conversation. I've been going back and forth in my own head on this whole thing, and I will say this: the path I took to take me to where I am now. I'm going to be honest; it doesn't exist anymore, because you can't make a name for yourself in traditional media anymore. Traditional media is out.
Agreed.
You can't even get paid when you look at the number of people. I mean, I look at the number of people at Red Eye, at the Trib, at WGN, everywhere who've gotten let go. Because they're being
they're considered obsolete in this format now. Yeah.
Right.
So Johngy, you're blazing a new path. You're
And that's
taking
what I'm
it-
saying. I think,
Yeah.
I mean,
Let him finish.
okay, all right. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So you're blazing a new path. Social media, giving, and I have a ton of respect for the amount of attention you draw to women's sports, something that I am also very passionate about. I don't think gets enough coverage. So having said all that and considering all that, John G, I bequeath to you the title of Chicago New Media Heavyweight Champion.
And that's all
Wow.
oh, wow. That's
No,
what I've
I
been
didn't say
saying the
wow.
whole time.
Wait. I didn't say wow. I said, well, that's
Oh,
an interesting
well.
development. Completely unexpected.
Okay.
Sort of a little bit of what else was blathering about, but
It ain't just a little bit, it's the whole damn thing.
But now he's trying to take credit for your work, Elliot. I never try to take credit for your
No,
work.
we're just in agreement. That's all. I didn't,
Wait, can you run that by me one more time, Elliot? I like the sound of that.
Again, because you are doing what's done today, what media is today, not old school media, not what I did, not newspapers, which, let's be honest, are going away, not television and radio, which is getting gutted left and right. We're talking, you're producing a great podcast, you're writing content and giving exposure to a lot of the new wave of sports, especially women's sports. I bequeath to you, because my title, I'm going to tell you, my title is not as significant as it used to be. You are Chicago's new media heavyweight champion.
I respect that and I appreciate that, and I am flattered and touched, sincerely.
Are you satisfied? Is that good enough for you? Are you okay now?
Don't spoil the beautiful moment.
Well, I just want to know. I mean, like, it's like he proposed and I'm waiting to hear, like, are you saying yes or
I am
no?
saying I will take that title of new media champ to heart. I will gladly wear that. I will carry forth. I will do my best to carry the Serrano legacy. I understand you're the old media, old school, but you're still involved in new school. I will do my best to uphold that.
And create your own too, because there's going to come a time when some other kid's going to come up behind you and do the same thing, come gunning for you. Remember that.
I will be as benevolent as
Remember this. The whole thing. You calling me chicken and a paper tiger, a paper champion, and oh yeah, I quote unquote respect you, but
I
you're
do.
dodging me.
That's what I was saying. I'm like,
ducking
yeah.
me.
He's really like setting that cushion up there, like I can say anything after this. Hey, I respect the hell out of him, but this Jack.
Elliot, do you remember when PL interviewed you, or PL and I interviewed you at the library, some library? Like,
yeah.
You know how excited I was for that interview?
Yeah, I also remember you taking a part of that interview and turning it on me in your promo.
What was the part of the interview?
Where
you gave me a promo.
I did the promo for you guys.
Yeah.
Gee, but you made that as okay. But you know what? And I got it. I'm going to give you credit. That was very clever. It made me literally laugh out loud. I was like, God damn, you got me. But no. But in all seriousness, John, I think you do incredible work, and I want to do everything I can to help you get as much attention as you need. And I'm happy to be.
You're gonna have a lot of work on your hands there, buddy.
I'm happy to play a part in helping.
Yeah, there you go.
Keep going. Keep going.
Well, I freely admit to everybody, I've been a fan of yours. Like I said, I don't want to keep repeating myself. I've been a fan of yours for a long, long time. And my dream was always to, if I could be like one bit of Elliot, and to meet you and to interview you blows my mind.
Your first, I appreciate that. First,
oh, you're cutting out right at the part. You're praising me and you're cutting out.
I don't think his phone can handle that kind of BS.
You have to say that part again.
Yeah, I think he overloaded the phone with a bunch of BS saying.
So I'm Chicago's new media champ.
Well, congratulations. You pried it out of his dead cold hands.
Don't sully this moment. Wait, you cut
There
out
he
when you were
is.
praising me.
Did I? Am I back?
You're
Yeah.
back now. Yeah, no, you were
All right.
saying you were going to say something nice about him, but it's
You know
okay.
what?
Don't. I'm sure it's already left your head, so don't worry about it.
I'm having a senior moment right now, and I can't even
Yeah.
remember what I said the last minute.
Well, I'm glad that we've more or less resolved that. I suppose John seems satisfied, so that's
I am not
good.
only satisfied, I am ecstatic.
Good. Elliot, I have two questions for you though before we let you go that I did want to touch on. You were involved in the documentary The People versus
George Lucas.
George
Ugh.
Lucas.
Yeah, I regret that.
Tell me, can you tell me about that?
Oh no, well, when the movie was being made, Jose and I and Comic Culture Warrior were approached because we had made a episode on our show about the marketing behind the prequels and what was going on with Star Wars. The guy, the directors, the folks who are making the documentary wanted someone to, give their opinion on things, but he was harping on the remaking of the original.
Yeah, 4, 5, and 6. Yeah, you're cutting out there again, buddy.
Let the record show my connection doesn't cut out.
Noted. Oh, he's back. He's coming back.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, buddy.
All right.
So you were just talking about you said your buddy was harping on the remakes of 4, 5, and 6, and that's
right. And I just wanted to comment on the marketing of the merchandise, that they were putting out way more stuff than a person could conceivably buy.
Yeah.
It was like and they still do that. They put out so much stuff. But mind you, this was back when I was even one of those people who wanted to buy everything. And since then, I've realized you can't buy everything. Just buy the things that you like and don't feel like you need to have a complete collection.
I know, but I understand that because I'm a completionist too. And because I've got plenty of my own action figures and all sorts of stuff all over my place and everything. And it was frustrating because I would not feel like my job was done until, even if I didn't want the action figure, it's like I've got all of them but this one, or I've got all but 3 or whatever. I mean, and yeah, then you end up in these situations where, yes, Star Wars is putting out like 100 action figures for this one movie, and it's just, there's no way,
Lost them.
Be a lot of editing going.
Oh,
there we go. We hear you.
We don't see you though, Elliot.
No, I cut off my video.
Okay.
Yeah, I figured
that might help.
Yeah, I figured that was intentional. Anyway, go ahead. So you were talking about the merchandise.
So I thought that was a bit much. And then what happened though is, mind you, as all that is going on, I'm also making inroads with folks at Lucasfilm and trying to land a job, with them, and maybe one day work on Star Wars.
Sure.
So having your name associated with something that is pretty much, no one who works in Star Wars really cares for, kind of sunk me. So that was a mistake.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. I understand that. Last question, then we'll let you go. I want to know about your good friend, Miss Moneypenny.
Hello.
Okay. Hello. Yeah. So just real quick, you can tell us about your good friend, Miss Moneypenny.
So Miss Moneypenny, who we've just had our 1-year anniversary of her Gotcha Day. Adopted her 1 year around July of last year. She's a close to 100-pound mixed mastiff. Jeez. Who has pretty much huge. Yeah, she's a big girl. Took over my life after me dealing kind of like with the grief of losing my internet famous cat. A lot of folks got to know me after my cat Sinbad,
Yep.
Sinbad the Survivor, he was known,
Yeah.
became literally an internationally known rescue cat, one of those. But then the cats rule the internet for what it's worth. He passed away a few years, and then I was like saying, I'm probably never going to get another pet. Miss Moneypenny came along. She told, reminded me that you never say never again.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
and then she's like the exact opposite of having like a little 8-pound Persian cat,
Oh yeah.
100-pound mixed mastiff that hogs the bed. That we have fart contests.
Hey,
She loves.
who's
Yeah.
winning those contests these days? Is that, well, who's coming out on top there, buddy?
I'm gonna tell you, what she lacks in like explosiveness, she makes up for in endurance.
Okay. All
She
right.
can go for a while. I can go.
So
I
it's
can
not
boom.
it's
boom,
not so
boom.
much quality as much as it's quantity. So
Quantity.
Yeah.
She's like a long distance runner, and I'm a sprinter.
yeah.
So
Well, just for the record, I do not want in on that title. Wow.
Well, I don't think any of us want you in on that title, buddy.
Just saying.
That's great. If you gave her a good squeeze, would you let one out?
she might, yeah, depending. There are
Nice.
times when it's like, oh, I try not to roll over on her because it's kind of boom.
Well, buddy, we're really grateful that you came on the show. I'm glad that you have been wanting to be on the interviewee side of things, because we definitely wanted to interview you. It's a pleasure to finally get to actually talk to you face to face and meet you. I am a fan of you just as a person, and I can tell you're a good guy with a big heart, and definitely I have a lot of common interests and stuff. So we all should definitely get together in person at some point and hang out.
For the
But
official handing over the title.
yeah, there you go.
Well, yeah, we're gonna have to get a belt, I guess. Mind you, that belt that I carried into the ring for the Panayotovich match was the Ric Flair belt that PL has. So I mean, so if you can get that away from him, you go on ahead.
I'll work
All right,
on that.
We'll work on it. We'll work on it.
But Elliot, before we let you go, is there anything you wanted to promote where people could find you?
Yeah.
Well, definitely. Now you guys have to return the favor and come on my show.
Twist our arms.
Yeah. I'd do it in a second. I mean, I'm saying yes right now. Absolutely. Yeah. You tell me when.
The MCU review, which is when we're talking about the Marvel movies, the Marvel studio films, mind you, starting with Iron Man. We're not talking about Blade. We're not talking about the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, although many folks will now say those are part of the MCU after Spider-Man.
They kind of like snuck that in the back door, but yeah.
I am a little weak on that, though. I don't claim to be an expert.
Well, don't worry about it, because we like having people of all experiences, and essentially the show is you watch the movie and you come on and you give your take on it as a regular fan, because we want the show to be for folks who aren't really into the Marvel films. So like you say, I've never seen a Marvel film before, or I've never seen this one before. This is what I thought, and that's cool, because we want to make the show as accessible as we can to everyone, not just diehard comic book geeks. It's following a format that my buddy Dave and I did for the James Bond movies, when we created a show called Shaken Not Heard.
Loved it.
We watched every Bond film in order and talked about them. And I wasn't even the biggest James Bond fan, so I learned a lot from that. So yeah,
we're actually doing something sort of similar. We just had our first episode of we already do a show called Pinfalls, where we do pay-per-view predictions, but we just did our first episode of Pinfalls Retro, where John and I watch an old pay-per-view and then come on and talk about it and deep dive into it. So kind of a similar idea. But I've seen all the Marvel movies, and I've probably seen them at least all twice, and other ones multiple times beyond that. But I will rewatch it fresh, which one you decide to throw out there, and I will gladly be there for you.
As
So,
am I. Are you kidding? Elliot inviting me on his podcast? Please, I'm in.
now, does he have to introduce you as the new media champion?
Well, I'm not going to demand it, although I would probably really get giddy if he did.
Well, I don't want to see you get giddy, so let's just shelve that then.
Well, John,
Um,
just so you know, it's before I have you on the show, I'm just going to accuse you of ducking me for at least 2 weeks before I actually have you on.
Okay.
I would never big shot an Elliot.
Well, other than that, where else can people find? Is there a central hub where people can access, all your stuff, or where can people follow you?
Yeah, seriously, you can just Google me, Elliott Serrano, 2 L's, 2 T's, and 2 R's. You're going to find my About Me page. You'll find my Amazon author page. You'll see my YouTube shows, my Facebook shows. I wish you could find all my old columns for Red Eye, but when the new Tribune folks came in and bought it up, they all of it's gone. All that content.
Yeah, that sucks.
That's too bad, man.
I mean, I have the original stuff. I still have it, but it's not,
It's
I don't
not
have
out
anything
there.
online. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
What was the Sun Times version? They had the Red Streak?
It was
Spot?
Red Streak. It was Red Streak and Red Eye. Yeah.
I was in that.
Now, my dream, actually, it's funny. My dream was to work for the Sun Times as one of their movie critics, because I was a huge fan of Roger Ebert back then.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And I had the one time when I was when I went to go see the first Iron Man movie, I actually ran into Roger Ebert at the screening.
Oh, wow.
But he was with his family, and this was my post his surgery where he couldn't really talk.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to corner him and say, "Oh my God, I'm such a fan," and da 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 da.
Yeah.
But it was really cool to know I was in the same theater with Roger Ebert on the day we were gonna review a movie.
That's awesome, dude. Well, thanks again for coming on, buddy. And we will look forward to coming on your show. And we will, hopefully we'll have you back on again sometime, man.
I'd be happy to do it. You guys are great. You're doing a great job. And I know, John G, I bust your chops, but I love you. I know you do great work.
Back at you, man. I do appreciate it. I do respect the hell out of you.
Yeah, you say that.
Yeah, I know.
If you had a T-shirt, I'd be wearing it now.
All right, buddy. You have a great night, and thank you again for coming on. And you be well. All right.
Yeah, I'll make sure my router's working better next time.
No problem, man. All
Thanks,
right,
Elliot.
Take care, buddy.
Have a great one.
You too.
Later.
Elliott Serrano, ladies and gentlemen. Elliott Serrano. John, are you happy? Are you satisfied? I mean, did you get what were hoping for out of our guest today?
I think it was a fair solution. It was a fair, I don't want to say compromise. I think Elliot did that on his own free will. He had some urging, obviously, on my part, but I think he did it of free will. And I think it was a very fair and noble solution.
Well, here's the thing. I think he strong-armed him into it. And I think if you hadn't, petitioned any of this or made such a fervent argument towards him, he would never have even thought about dropping a title onto you. So, that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Probably he was not. I'm sure it's just. I don't think it was something he was thinking about. I don't think he was laying in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, being like, "How can I bestow upon John an honor that would help propel him as a media icon here in Chicagoland?"
Ric Flair was not laying in bed thinking, "How can I help Ronnie Garvin?" But Ronnie Garvin came after him, came after the title, won the title. If you don't go for it, you don't get it.
Well, whatever.
As my good friend, publisher, CEO of Global Traveler Magazine, Fran Gallagher, say, if you don't ask for the sale, you don't get the sale. I made my case. Elliot is a fair man. He's an intelligent man. You talk to him. I don't think
I agree. He's a very intelligent person, and he's a good judge of character, in my opinion, as well. So I give you that. I'm glad that you're happy and you're content now, and peace was made, and we're all good here. So, you know, I guess
You shall now address me as the new Chicago media champ.
no.
Or the
And
Chicago new
I
media
also
champ.
think that I do deserve a little credit here,
You
because
do.
I'm the one who said, you know, that a separate title I thought was in order, rather than him passing down one that was specifically made for him.
You do. But this is kind of the best of both worlds. It's got the lineage, if you will, of the old title. However, it's a separate title. Elliot doesn't have to give up anything, so to speak.
Yeah.
I don't have to accept a lesser title, a hand-me-down title, and I am the first.
That's what I was saying the entire time, and then you kept shooting me
Stop
down.
trying to glom credit.
then-
You're ruining my moment.
And then, you know, when he says it, then it's like, oh well, I'm honored.
He's
I can't
Elliott
believe,
Serrano. You're
you know,
else. Move
you
on.
know.
When you have a resume like his, then I'll accept your ramblings.
Buddy, I'm not claiming to have a resume like his, but I do believe that my resume gives me enough authority to tell you what to do.
No, your so-called committee gives you that authority, and that's my next goal. I've worked on Elliot, now I'm moving to the committee.
Yeah, well, you're going to be working on that for a while. I don't know if you have.
Well, what do you think of the title? It's pretty cool, huh?
I do think it's very cool. No, I think it is very cool. And like I said, you know, if somebody I idolized, you know, felt that I had proven my chops in a field that, you know, that they were affluent, and, you know, I would be very honored. So I hope, you know, that I'm happy for you. Good for you. It is a worthwhile and legit title to have, and it is something to be proud of. So, you know,
and you get the rub, man.
Congratulations. I get the rub.
Yeah, not only did you facilitate it, you also now get to have the Chicago New Media Champ as your co-host.
This was bad. This is bad.
No, it's good for you.
This is all I'm going to hear about.
No.
This is it.
Doesn't it help before I was just Johngy in your eyes. Now I'm the Chicago New Media Champ. You should be happy with that. It doesn't mean I'm above you, it just means that I've gained something. If either one of us brings the title to the show, it helps the show. Be a team player.
Okay. All right. Fine. Jeez. All right, John. If somebody wanted to hear you go on about this more, or you know, or something, where the hell can they find you on social media?
They could find me at Johngy's Beat pretty much everywhere. And soon they'll be able to find me, or you and I, on Elliot's podcast.
Yeah, I am looking.
Where could they find you?
I am looking forward to doing that. They can find me on the Twit at Tommy_else. They can find me on the gram at Tommy_else, and they can also find the Tommy Else YouTube channel on the tube. That is it. I'm spent. This has been an exhausting episode, and I am going to go and decompress. So
I'm not going to sleep, baby.
For the Johngy or Else podcast, I have been who else but Tommy Else, and with me as always, the Chicago New Media Champion, Mr. John Robleski.